Hello, and welcome to UT3 Session 3. And in this session I'll be covering additive and subtractive builds here for your levels. So here I have a fresh map. Going to first start a additive world. And over here I have my brush. And I'm going to create my brush to be a big enough surface for it to be flat so that I can build things onto it. So first I'm going to give my cube some dimensions here by right-clicking on the cube tool brush, and I'm going to say 2048 by 2048, but I'm gonna ignore one of these dimensions here, and I'm going to make it like a flat plane, as you can see. Now I'm going to stretch this brush that I've made into a flat square. I'm just going to increase it a little bit on each side. Probably over here looks good, and a little longer like this. Alright. Since I'm in an additive world, everything is empty. So I'm going to add matter into this world. And you can see that this has turned into a black surface. I can light the area by holding the L key on my keyboard and left clicking anywhere on this floor. Another way I can add a light point is by right clicking, which will bring up this properties window, and going to add actor and add the light point, which will also add a source of light. That's two ways of doing the same thing, but for the most part we have our light source here. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I'm in a sort of checkered area here. So if I build the map and right-click play from here, you're going to notice that the graphics are being glitched. They're sort of like bugging out here. This is because the camera in which I'm moving around in is looking into infinity, and the computer has no way of trying to translate infinity into a visual representation of itself. So this is why this is occurring. So in an additive world, when you want to avoid staring into infinity, you need to create a sky dome. And the way we go about that is we go to the generic browser, and in these list of packages you can see a package called UN Sky, but unfortunately it's not being detected here. So if I go to File, Open, and go to my Unreal folder, into UT Games, Cooked PC Environments, in this list of packages I will have UN Sky. And here I have an assortment of sky materials, as well as pre-made sky domes. So for the sake of being quick here, I'm going to add a sky dome. And here we have our sky dome, which is pretty small in relative to the map I've created. As I've mentioned before, if I put in a human character, I can tell just how big my map is right now. So let me do that. Oh, whoops. It was added into infinity space. So I'm gonna add him here again. And here we go. Here's our character relative to our sky dome box. But of course, the sky dome is too small, as you can see. So I'm obviously going to scale this sky dome big enough to encompass my level. I'm also going to sort of slide it down a little bit. Alright, so here I have my additive world, And when I rebuild the lighting, now I don't have the infinity issue, unless of course I go to the edge. So how's another way to solve this problem? Well, that's easy. We create walls. So very quickly here, I'm going to create a wall using my brush. So once again, I'm going to put some properties in here, or I could just manipulate the brush straight up by just going into the geometry mode. And so I'm going to make this wall about that thick and make it the circumference of the level. So here I'm looking at my front mode, so I can see that my wall isn't very tall at all. So I'm going to highlight, or at least try to highlight, the top 2 points here. And I'm going to lift it up. And now I have made a wall, or at least the brush mode of the wall. So again, I'm going to add matter to the universe, and now I have created this solid wall. Another thing I can do, instead of manipulating the brush to constantly make these walls, which is obviously a tedious, long process, I can take the wall I created. This is the additive material here, and if I hold the Alt key, I can duplicate items or objects. So here I've made another wall, and I'm going to put it at the edge of the level here. Now this Alt key works with anything. If I click this character and I hold Alt and drag, I create a duplicate character. If I click on this light and hold Alt, I create a duplicate light. There's a very easy way of making duplicates of things for levels. So I'm going to build the geometry here, and here I have my second wall. Now once again, I'm going to take this wall, I'm going to duplicate it, and this time I'm going to hit the space bar to change from translation mode to rotation mode and rotate this wall so that now it's on the side that I need the wall. Alrighty, and now I'm going to hold the Alt key again and duplicate it and do the same thing on the other side. And when I build the map, I have now encompassed my map in an indoors area where my character will no longer be able to step out of the boundaries and stare into infinity. So now I'm going to go into my map, give it a little test run, and here we have it. Now aesthetically, I could make the necessary adjustments. So say for instance, I know this is my sky dome, and I'm not going to be able to see past a certain point. So when I create when I go back into the map, I have to rebuild lighting. When I go back into the map, the sky dome will be set in a place where it's more appropriate and it feels a little more natural, and I can't stare into infinity space as I hop around. So we have our sunlight, so we can see. And now I can continue to add things into the level. Say for instance, I want to add a few pillars to get in the way of our character's line of sight here. I can just go and shrink this cube down to 512 to 512 by 512. And now I have this pretty massive cube relative to my character, so obviously I can scale it down a bit. Let's say I want to do something along the lines of this. Make it 1 square by 1 square here. And now I'm going to lift this column up, plant it on the floor here, and hit the add button. And now I have this column that is going to obstruct the point of view of my character from being able to shoot all over the place here. And just like I did with the walls, I can hold the Alt key and duplicate even more columns, scatter them around the level. Again, you can do this with anything, even objects from the generic browser. And once I hit build, I have these columns so that when I go, let me rebuild the lighting here, when I go into my level, I'll have some obstacles in the way of my firing. Just like that. See? So that's an additive level. Let's go into the subtractive level now. So I'm going to create a new map. This time I'm going to make a subtractive world. And like I've said in my previous sessions, in a subtractive world, instead of everything being empty space, everything is filled in. Everything is, if you can imagine, you're trapped, buried underground inside a sandbox. And in order for us to create space, we need to subtract the space from the universe. So here I'm going to create a big enough cube. 2048 seems to be my favorite number, I know. And when I hit the subtract key, the subtract button here, I have now subtracted space from a universe otherwise filled with matter. And once again, I can hold the L key or right click, add actor, spotlight, and scale the light here so that it can illuminate the room. And now I've created a room in a subtractive world. Now, as opposed to an additive world where I can just keep on adding things to it, in a subtractive world I have to keep subtracting things from it to create even to expand the world even further. So here I'm going to create another subtracted point here. So now there's two rooms. I'm going to illuminate it. And if I scale the light, move it about, you can see these two rooms being represented in my perspective window. But now I can't access this second room. And the reason why is because there is matter filled in conjunction to these two rooms. So I have to create a tunnel. I have to subtract the space between these two cube rooms in order to connect them so that I may go from this room to the next. So once again, I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to make it a little smaller because, you know, it's going to be a tunnel. I suppose make it 512 on all sides. And here I have this cube. I'm going to place it here. One thing I could do is put this here so I don't have to keep changing the dimensions of the cube. Make sure when I subtract things from the universe, I want to make sure that it's nice and clean. See, like the lines aren't sort of messed up. It's not like I'm doing this. I'm keeping it very clean. Unreal likes that. You know, it can get really glitchy or get really crashy if you don't make things, you know, nice and clean. So here I'm going to move from the side view down so that I know that it's touching the bottom of my block. And I'm going to hit subtract, and now I've created in this window a tunnel between the two cubes. And as I continue to expand upon this world, I'll continue taking matter away from the universe. And that is how you create levels in an additive world and in a subtractive world.